Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Cheryl Selman, and welcome to The Love Code. This is a show that is really to uplift, to inspire, to encourage, to help you transform, to open to greater healing energies, to really help you remember who you are, connecting to your soul. I always love doing this program because I have such great conversations that uplift and inspire me, and I'm sure they're going to be uplifting and inspiring you, especially if you're listening for the very first time. I want to welcome you and thank you for joining me, and I trust you'll be listening every week. And just to that point, if you would like these archive shows to be sent to you, to your inbox, all you need to do is go to my website, which is Dr. Cheryl Selman, DR for Dr., drcherylselman.com. Opt in there, or if you choose, you can like me over at Facebook at What Women Must Know, and that is the name of the other show I do on Progressive Radio Network every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. So both shows are available and will be either posted on Facebook or sent to you to your inbox. So hope you'll be joining me every week. You know, let's talk about the topic at hand and the special guest I have for you today. We live in crazy times. If you happen to be watching the news, which I try to do on a very seldom basis, but I like to peek every now and then. And if you're watching what's going on, our world is getting pretty interesting, to say the least. Sometimes it's a little scary. Sometimes it's confusing. But it's always entertaining, no matter what it is that's going on, especially if you have a good perspective on things. So today, I thought it would be a great opportunity to have with us a renowned astrologer, Gregory Charles, to help us navigate through these times, to give us some insights, to give us some guidance, certainly give us some perspective. Just let me say a little bit about Gregory before he comes on. He is a renowned astrologer who has been interviewed on national TV and radio, and whose horoscopes have been published in many countries over the past 17 years. His astrology clients have included Carmen Electra, Dr. Hunter S. Thompson, and hundreds of others around the world. He has been an astrological consultant to corporations, CEOs, academics, journalists, doctors, stockbrokers, politicians, and others. He is also an author, international seminar leader, and speaker in Australia, United States, England, and Israel. And Gregory is a former consultant to UCLA and Texas A&M on alternative healing methods. So it's my great pleasure to welcome Gregory Charles with us today, because we have lots to talk about, and you are such an interesting person, Gregory.
That makes two of us, Cheryl.
Well, welcome to the show. I am happy to have you. Just to let people know, I have been getting your emails about your astrological assessments every week for quite a while, and they're always so intriguing, and you just have a very interesting perspective on things. And I also want to say to my audience, and that is that I find astrology to be such a valuable tool if you have a really competent astrologer, mind you, not just what you find in the newspaper on a daily basis, but if you have a really well-trained astrologer. It has helped me immensely to guide me through difficult times in my life. It gives me a perspective of the journey that I am on, of the journey of my soul in this lifetime. And whenever you have a bit more of a manual and a roadmap, you can weather whatever's going on, because you have this map that is showing you the greater purpose and the process that you're in. So I just want to say that, because it's one of the most profound tools I know to gain insight and guidance on one's life's journey. So having said that, Gregory, I'm just going to let you jump in and first of all, I'd just like you to share a bit of your journey, which is a really interesting journey from what I've been reading of your resume. So why don't we just get a little insight into you, because you have such a a depth and breadth of experience in this lifetime?
It's been strange. One of my favorite books ever was a book by Robert Heinlein called Stranger in a Strange Land. I actually grew up in a psychiatric center, which is a great start in life because my father was a nursing supervisor in a country hospital, and they provided accommodation for the senior executive staff. So from the age of 3, I had daily interaction with psychiatric staff and patients. And very early in life, like as young as 4 or 5, I remember clearly a moment where I looked around and realized that half the people who were supposedly crazy were actually saner than half the people who were supposedly sane. And I realized I had to figure out what reality was and what craziness was, and that whole question. And that set me on a journey that took me to avoid the Vietnam draft. I went and became a psych nurse myself. And in my 20s, spent a lot of time in Asia, especially Bali. Got involved in Buddhism and astrology and alternate healing. And by the time I had my Saturn return at 29, did an amazing seminar that I've taken around the world, which I call the living game. And it's very much about self-ownership, true self-ownership on a level that nothing else has matched for me. And so in my 30s, I took the seminar around the world, found myself doing national media in half a dozen countries and all kinds of adventures. Got to hug the Dalai Lama in his home, and it's just kind of unfolded, really. And I've always played a high-risk game. I go for my dreams, whatever it takes, and they, of course, happen. So I also teach people how to manifest their dreams in a real and practical way. And then hit my midlife crisis at so-called at 41, and realized by then I had an incredibly successful life, and realized that it would get boring. So looked for the next challenge, and it was America, which had been predicted, by the way, by a psychic friend of mine years before. And so I've had 27 years in America, and a few extra days. I celebrated that a few days ago. And America has just been a whole other planet for me. Incredible. I don't even know where to start. I mean, I've seen more of America than any American I've met. Let's start there. I've lived in multi-million-dollar mansions in Aspen for years. I've lived in the ghetto, the Tenderloin in San Francisco for a year, where my girlfriend and I were protected by armed black teenage gangbangers because they said we were part of the hood because we gave money to street people. So we were their responsibility. I mean, just, experiences that, I don't know, many people wouldn't have had. And flip that to hunting lodge in the forest in a cabin in West Virginia with 20 good old boys and their dope and porn and guns. To Washington and hanging out with high-level political operatives. So I've just seen many levels and dimensions of America, and recently really started talking about that and reflecting back to Americans what I see happening. So it's been a journey, yes. It's been an amazing journey, and I'm 67, and I feel like I'm just starting a whole new journey that is going to incorporate everything I've learned, done, and know. So I'm very excited. Very excited.
Well, there's nothing like living a full life, is there? And creating all these experiences that are all grist for our mill. It certainly isn't a boring life you have.
I keep telling people, look, textbooks are fine, theories are fine, but the real teacher is experience. That's when as we say here, the rubber meets the road, is have new experiences. Personal growth, spiritual growth, emotional growth comes down to several simple things, and one of them is keep having new experiences. You know, it's like that great line in Shawshank Redemption, get busy living or get busy dying. You know, and enriching your life means having more experiences, getting out of the comfort zone, taking some risks. And we're taught not to. We're taught to hunker down and fear the unknown. And hold on tight, and that's not fun.
And it seems that may be more a trend now in these times of uncertainty. I mean, certainly if you're going to listen to the news, which, like I said earlier, I really don't have a TV, and I've even kind of shut down my NPR listening to maybe just the classical music station. But, you know, if you do catch a little peek of the headlines here and there, it does feel scary, and it does cause people to shut down and withdraw and want to stay what we think is relatively safe. I mean, you know, in that definition of safe, of not venturing out and somehow, you know, that hunkering down process. But truly, it's by growth and having that curiosity and trying new things that we keep discovering more of our own self, more of our own resources, talents, and greater meaning for life.
Absolutely. And in terms of the intro to this show, just for some overall context from astrology, there's a planet called Pluto, which is the lord of the underworld. And Pluto, when Christianity came in, they took Pluto and turned it into Satan and hell, which totally missed the point. Pluto is our own underworld, which basically is our fear and our pain in whatever shape or form. And it's also the destroyer and the creator, so it relates to the Indian goddess Kali. So in 2008, right on time with the financial collapse, Pluto moved into Capricorn, which is government and structures and authority and tradition and conventionality and things like that. And so, of course, the financial crisis turned everything on its head and has done since. And what we've been seeing since 2008 is more and more breakdown. And we see it with our current resident of the Awful Office, where we've elected the crazy. We've basically elected, it's like there used to be a book called The Ugly American. He's like the ugliest American because he represents the underside of this culture, all the negative attributes, including incredible narcissism. And so he's helping that process of breakdown and degeneration. And stepping back from all of that, basically humanity's going through a shift in consciousness that we absolutely need to have. We've been playing these old games for way too long of victim persecutor, the blame game, oppression, you know, the 1%, while people are, starving on the streets. That's not humanity. That's not humane. Sorry, that's not humane. So that has to go, and it is going. So what we're in is this amazing, I find both terrifying and exciting period of breakdown on all levels, from the financial to the personal, structural, our belief systems, and of course that ideally that shift in consciousness will open the space to avert climate change, which I call climate catastrophe or climate plague, because we need a collective shift in consciousness. And the line I came up with, which is very simple and encapsulates this, is either we live together or we die together. And I mean everybody on the planet. We either live together or we're going to die together, because if we keep conflict and all the rubbish going, then we're being distracted from the real problem, which is climate catastrophe. So it's a waking up process. And yes, it's very scary. And next year, we've had a taste of it this year. Next year, it's going to kind of get more focused and intensified. And one astrologer who I really love said it's like living in a house that's being fully renovated, where you have to tear the wall. You know, everything's being torn down around you to be rebuilt. And that's going to take courage. It's going to take courage. So everything that's outdated, limiting in ourselves, patterns that don't work anymore, all those sorts of things are going to be challenged. And the outcome is that ideally we will meet and accept the challenge, and we'll go deeper, and we'll find deeper resources in ourselves with which to live life, and we'll know each other a lot better. So it's a journey, yes.
So, there's so much you said there that I'd like us to explore. But before I go there, Gregory, for people who either don't know much about astrology or maybe are skeptical of astrology or cynical of astrology, can you explain this ancient science, and because it is an ancient science, and how would you define astrology and its purpose? So we kind of set a context for the conversation we're having.
Yeah. I have several approaches. The first one is that anyone who says astrology doesn't work has never had a good astrology read. In other words, anyone who says it doesn't work is prejudiced. They're prejudging something they know nothing of. That's my first statement. And I used to defend astrology, and I'm like, no, it works. What's your problem? It works. And there's plenty of people on the record, including Thomas Jefferson and Albert Einstein, and going back to Thomas Aquinas and down through history, there's some amazing people who have discovered astrology and been amazed by it. Carl Jung said it's the greatest example of synchronicity on planet Earth. And that leads into my understanding of it. Firstly, I don't know why it works. I don't know how it works, I just know that it does. And I say the same thing about the Macintosh sitting in front of my Apple Mac. It's sitting in front of me. I don't know why it works. I don't know how it works, but it does. In other words, astrology is a powerful tool to be used, just like an Apple Mac. It's not a religion. It's not even a belief system in that sense. It's simply a powerful tool. My best explanation, along the lines of Carl Jung, with synchronicity, is that everything in the universe is connected. It's one big bang created the whole thing. Everything is made of stardust. And so for me, astrology planets don't make us do things. For me, astrology and the positioning of planets is like a huge cosmic clock that tells us what time it is in the world and in our personal life. And, as I say, you've only got to have a good astrology reading, and you'll never question it again because it works.
Well, that's great, because I think there are many tools that are available to us to help us dive deeper into our own psyche and to understand the journey we're on.
Yeah. I mean, just as a parallel, I use the I Ching, which is the ancient Chinese book of change. And again, why does it work? Synchronicity. Yeah?
Yeah.
There's no accidents. Synchronicity. Yeah.
Yeah, it makes life so fascinating to understand that there are many signs around us that are giving us information and guiding us, in a sense, if we just open our eyes and acknowledge the things that occur, and trust in the process of life. I had an experience this week that happened that I went to go to my local coffee shop the other morning, and lo and behold, my wallet was gone. It wasn't in my purse. So I knew I didn't take it out. I wasn't at home, so I go, oh my gosh, I had dinner the other night, the night before, and I did a little grocery shopping. So it had to, something happened. So I had a choice. I really saw this so clearly. I had a choice. I could have totally freaked out. I could have gotten my knickers in a knot, right, and anxious and overwhelmed, and it's like, oh, my God, I had to go home and had to cancel the cards. I have to cancel, get a new light. I mean, because everything was in that wallet, all my ID, everything.
Yeah.
And I chose to say, look, it's stay calm. The worst thing that could happen, I've got to, cancel the credit cards, get new ones reissued, get a new. I mean, that's the worst that could happen. I'm covered.
Yeah.
And I got home, and I just happened to pick up a message that was left on my voicemail from the night before, and it was someone who had found that wallet in the parking lot and put it and gave it to the door, and they held it for me until I got there that next morning. It was all fine.
Brilliant. What a powerful lesson.
It was such a powerful lesson for me because I really saw I could have gotten so worked up and gotten myself into such a state that would have been so unhealthy for me,
Absolutely.
Nothing else. And I made another choice to stay centered through what looked like a crisis situation, right? And it all worked out in the end.
Yes.
It would have worked out one way or the other anyway.
Well, that's a fabulous metaphor for you and everybody for what's coming in the next year. Because with that breakdown, it's easy to get lost in the breakdown and the panic and anxiety, just like you could have got lost in the anxiety about your wallet. And the key for this coming year, and you said the word trust, is trust and surrender. To trust that we are in a collective, unconscious, karmically destined process of not just revolution and evolution, but we as human beings are in a process of transformation. We're becoming our higher self, or a higher version of ourselves. And so trust and surrender is firstly to trust that that's true, unreasonably. And secondly, to let go into the process. So you surrendered about the wallet. You let go of the panic, and you realize that losing your wallet is not life-threatening. It's just a hassle to deal with. So, as Alfred E. Newman used to say, what, me worry? Right? So letting go of the drama of it, which includes the fear, is the key for this coming year, because there's going to be so much change this coming year. It's astounding. Yeah, I've been spending quite a bit of time with it and with other astrologers, and it's just I don't even, renovation's the best word I think I can find at the moment. So what you did was brilliant. It gives you a metaphor for the whole year, that whatever seems to be going awry, to just stand back and go, trust and surrender, let it go, handle it. No need for fear or drama. Yeah.
Right. So 2020, thank you. Thanks, Gregory. So 2020 had, from what I gather from some of the astrologers that I've encountered, seems to be a pivotal year for us in a cycle in our evolutionary cycle.
Yes.
Can you, from an astrological point of view, can you give us some more insight as to what astrologically is happening and how to interpret what that means?
Wow. My wow is that there's so much happening next year. I'm looking for the key themes. There's definitely an overall embracing theme, and that is the renovation. Okay, we're the destruction of outgrown, limiting, outworn, no longer useful, out-of-date structures whether they're nationally, internationally. I mean, it's going to affect the United Nations. It's going to affect world trade. Everything's going to be affected. It's going to affect the impeachment next year. But also in terms of our own growth, we are letting the old version of ourselves go in order to allow the emergence of a new, clearer, in order to allow a clearer, cleaner, more powerful, focused version of ourselves to emerge. That's the overall thing. Along with that is going to be increased connection with our psychicness, with our spirituality, with our visions, and along with that is going to be considerable expansion. So we're going to get rewards along the way. It's not just going to be a one-year grind. There'll be surprises, for some people shocks, for some people things will be just turned on their heads, and then we'll get through it and there'll be rewards. And then there'll be the next piece of renovation. And for you, it's going to be an extremely powerful year, extremely powerful, lots of change. And it's going to be very conscious. It's going to be kind of in your face. There's no way you'll be missing the messages. You'll be stepping into a lot more of your own spirituality. You'll be stepping into, in fact, early in the year, both Saturn and Jupiter together are moving into your first house across your rising sign. So you're going to be standing on new ground where you'll be restructuring yourself and your life. You've just come through 2.5 years. It's fairly difficult because it is the dissolving of structures, what you've been through. And now, so you've sort of been through a mini version of what's coming this year. It should make it a lot easier for you to handle that. And you're also coming into a place of cautious expansion where you'll be feeling the waters, testing waters. But I see you taking some big new directions as well. Some really big new directions. Yeah. And of course you're as psychic as all get out to begin with. So that's going to be enhanced. And your impact is going to be increased. Yeah, you'll be moving into more personal power for sure.
That's so exciting because for people listening, I've asked Gregory to take a little look at my chart, which we're sharing on the air with everyone. Yeah, that's so fascinating because to get that kind of kind of preview, you might say, is really helpful. It really helps to keep you on track. I'm talking about me. Helps me to keep me on track, keep going things that I've been doing, and to know that the commitment I have to my own personal spiritual journey in this life is just gaining more strength and more power.
It does. Very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Because you've got big energies and you've obviously got a big role in life, and it's going to get bigger. It's going to and ironically, it'll get simpler and more focused for you, which then means it's like the vision I get is like. Have you ever used a magnifying glass in the sunshine to set paper alight?
Yes, I have.
Okay. So when you first get that magnifying glass and you put it over the paper, you haven't got it focused. You can see some light going on the paper, but as you adjust the magnifying glass, it brings the sun into focus where it just burns straight through the paper, right? So that's part of the process you're definitely in. And to some degree or other, that's what the process is. It's focusing our light on where it needs to heat things up. We're going to get hot.
So stay tuned, everyone. I'll keep you up to date with the process as it unfolds. Because if we really take a step back at all of our lives, we really have to observe what is it that we're doing here? What is it that's going on? What are the patterns that we see repeated over and over again? Some that may be beneficial and others that aren't. We have to have a look at ourselves so we can learn and make our life and our experience and our time here even better, or maybe more productive or of more value.
Yes, absolutely. And it's one of the things for this coming year, actually, is where is your value? Where is the value for you to go for and to collect? Yeah. So it's like this coming year doesn't want us sort of fucking around and, being distracted. It wants us to be focused, and that includes on where is the value. It's very important. And what is of real value? That's the other, what matters.
So, I know you don't have a crystal ball and you can't see, what specific events or situations, but can I just, we look at some themes that maybe you have some insight can help guide us?
Sure.
So the first thing that comes up is obviously economic and financial.
Right. What's the question?
Well, they're talking about recession. There's all this fear of, constriction, trade wars, dollar, or the dollar's going to lose its strength, its place in the world, the dominant economy and trade.
Yes.
So, what's the sense of things from your perspective?
The first thing is that the economic structure of the world has to change. It's obscene that something like 60 families in America own as much as everybody else collectively. That's obscene. So there's going to be a breakdown of that system. Now, for the average person, this is my approach to money. There's always enough. There will always be enough. And that doesn't mean there'll always be a lot. It means you're not going to starve to death, right? And what people tend to do a lot is focus their fear of change or insecurity on money, and by definition, you put yourself in a position of powerlessness because those big decisions aren't being made by you. So to reclaim power, and this is a big theme for this year, is to own that it's your life, it's your script, it's your choices. So if money is short, how come you've chosen that? How come you've attracted that? And what can you learn from it? And maybe, having I think when I'm old enough that I've watched boom and bust and inflation and recession and all that. And the thing I see is that when economies get tighter, it's because people are wasting money. And they need to learn to value it again. And that's the key. It's like, back to what do you really value? So and the other piece of this is that it's going to affect different people different ways. Whatever happens, you'll have your experience of it, and your next door neighbor may have a very different experience. So it's what is your experience right now and what really matters to you. And I know that's not, I can go into, what I actually think will happen, but that's a whole other show.
Right.
But there's definitely going to be a breakdown in systems. Australia, as you probably know, Australia actually didn't let the bankers get away with it all. And so there's a massive royal commission into the banking industry in Australia. And people will go to jail. Iceland did the same thing. And it's needed here. There's been no structural changes made in America with banking since the collapse. And that's crazy that a bank or a financial institution can hold the whole government basically blackmail the government and say, give us free money because we screwed up. Boy, that's a pretty good deal. Yeah.
And haven't we arrived at that same place again with all the excessive lending, and that we've kind of returned to that place 2000 that happened around that 2008 period.
Totally. Totally.
So
and
it's like nothing has changed.
Yep, and it will blow up
again. Which is not
again.
good, right? I mean,
if in the long run it is, in the short run it's not.
Right.
And that's the thing. That's the thing, is to trust that these big changes are good in the long run, because there has to be a restructuring in banking and finance, not just in America but in the world. Guys, just going to say something, I lost it. But yeah. Oh, and your comment about the American dollar losing value. And America, it's very close. Trump's behavior has basically turned the world against America. And that's not being widely enough reported here. And that's happening in the way that, for example, other countries are forming trade groups that don't include America. They're forming military alliances that don't include America. And we're getting very, very close to the world actually choosing another currency as the baseline. In other words, all international trade is done with the American dollar at the moment, which gives America a lot of power. And if it loses that, it loses a lot of power. And it's about to. I'd give it maybe 3 years. So America's going to get some hits. And I hate to say it, but America deserves it. It's been astonishingly arrogant in the world, and superior, and often bullying. And so it has to be pulled back, reined in as it is. Yeah.
I'm really not a political animal at all, but it just seems to me that it's so obvious how the United States has not just abused its power, but has used its power. The military-industrial complex has just spent not only so much money. I mean, there's huge warship that is $1 billion, but they can't even get the elevators to work on, right? So they can't get people on board. So, I mean, there's such this obscene abuse of money and wasting of money when the country itself and the needs in this country and the infrastructure and our, educational system, homelessness situation, is all so dire. And somehow powers that be in this country, which that's a whole other story, have I don't know. I think everybody in government are psychopaths, to be honest. I think I don't understand them. I don't think the average person can at all understand the mind of a politician, because the average person does not operate with that level of greed and power as their primary objectives.
Yes.
I don't know. I'm just kind of rambling here. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And the overall system has been corrupted by money, by allowing money into politics, and by allowing corporations to impact politics the way they do. And so even the good idealistic politicians, because I don't believe they're all rotten to the core, but the good ones still have to deal with a system that is corrupt, fundamentally corrupt. And it's crazy. And part of that corruption is the military madness. We spend more on the military in America than the rest of the world combined spends on their military. And at the same time, we're like 25th down the list for the education system. And, and then so much of this country is actually a third world country in disguise. And you can't get money for schools. You can't get money for, homeless people. To me, that's obscene. In fact, homeless people are vilified and treated like scum as failures. And it's the system that's failed. Yeah.
But
So
Gregory, isn't that a worldwide trend? I mean, really, in all honesty, as we say, the need for this change happening on a planetary level, because I don't know of any government anywhere that isn't corrupt.
It's a matter of degree. I think there is some corruption in I'll address first world advanced countries, which is, Australia, New Zealand, America, England, Europe, Canada, a few other countries. They're all socialist countries, so-called socialist countries, which doesn't mean communism. It means democratic capitalism that looks after the whole society. So there are trends that way. With Brexit, there's more right-wing stuff. But history shows us that in times of great change, people tend to get more strident and conservative and right-wing, based on fear. And people on the right, their politics is the politics of fear, whereas people on the left, their politics is the politics of hope. So there is that struggle that goes on, absolutely. But just the same, you go to Australia regularly. How many homeless people do you see on the corner?
You really only see them in the big cities. I don't see them, and I haven't been to a big city for a while, but not like it is in the United States.
What I should say is how many do you see sleeping on the street?
Yeah,
None.
You don't really see many, yeah.
No, why? Because there are services provided. The minimum for a homeless person is they can get a bed, a meal, and a shower. And if needed, some clean clothes. Minimum. Yeah, I live in San Diego at the moment. Go downtown, hundreds of people on the street living in little makeshift tents and shacks. That's the difference. Yeah, that's the difference. And it's, so that level of corruption, look, America is crazy. As I told you, I was in psych many years ago, and my mentor, wonderful psychiatrist, gave a lecture on if America was a human being, what would its diagnosis be? And he said, absolutely schizophrenia. And we see it in the division of the North and the South. We see it in racism. And that's what Trump, of course, plays on, is that division, that splitting off, because he's quite schizophrenic himself, which is obvious. So that things are more extreme in America. This is the melting pot. This is the big experiment. Are
we going to come through it, Gregory? Are we going to come through? Are we going to come through it with these changes that are happening?
That's on us. I think so. I think we'll come through a bit battered and bruised and not nearly as cocky, but a lot healthier. I think so. Yeah.
So can we talk about health? Can we talk about health too?
Absolutely.
Because I know that's an area that you are very involved in, have been very involved in. So if when we talk about this era, this cycle that we're going into, health is really important for all of us. And again, the statistics are pretty scary, and what's projected in the decades ahead. What is it, from your perspective as an astrologer, that we really need to do to optimize our health and well-being in the years ahead?
Okay, starting point always is eat healthily. If you're not eating well, your body's not at optimal functioning, and therefore nothing else is. Second one I would say is meditate. In some form or another, whether that's sitting cross-legged or going for a walk in the park quietly. It's being called mindfulness these days. Then the next one is a little more complex insofar as questioning your own beliefs. There's a loop that goes on that whatever we believe, that's what we attract. And it feels like certain things happen and therefore we believe them, and it's actually back to front. So to look at our own negative beliefs, where they came from, what emotions run them, and to make new choices about that. For example, a simple one I realized a few years ago is, what is love? What is love? Well, love is for giving, yes, to other people. And then I realized that love is forgiving. Love is the act of forgiveness. You cannot forgive someone without love. And the more you do forgive people, the more love you're generating for yourself. And that's really another key. Disease is dis-ease. It's a lack of ease. And so one of the things that heals that is self-love and self-value. And I don't mean loving ourselves because we've got money or a nice car. I mean loving and valuing who we are and how we are today. That's a big challenge for health. And trust and surrender. I mean, there's a complex of pieces that all fit together and support each other. Yeah.
Do you think so? If we're looking at the coming year, 2020, and it's going to be a roller coaster in some regards. Some systems aren't going to be able to be sustained as they've been. So I would imagine there's some really good advice you have to people to how to ride a coaster. Can you, from your perspective as an astrologer and someone on a spiritual path and on a healing, and you've also been a healer, what do you think is critically important for people to hear and to do in general in their lives, but certainly when circumstances get challenging around them due to health issues, financial issues, relationship issues? What are your words of wisdom to people?
My words of wisdom are what I use for myself, because my journey for the last 15 years has been an incredible roller coaster. And it comes down to, first, I create my life. I'm not a victim. I'm not powerful. I'm attracting all this to learn, to grow, to expand. And I say that even when it doesn't feel like it. Second, trust and surrender. Just trust. We're spirits in a physical world. We're here on a journey, a soul journey, as well as a personal journey. And our higher self, or our spirit or soul, knows exactly what's going on and knows exactly what's best for our spiritual growth. So if we own that and not feel hard put upon or not need to blame or not feel victimized, that we own it. This is my life. I'm here living it. I'm here choosing it. Now I can trust it and surrender to it and love myself for it. That's the core. Meditation, affirmation, I've used sometimes 10 times a day, but certainly every day. And from that place, how can I have this work? So one of my big challenges in my life has been confronting fear, huge amounts of fear. And in the last 15 years, that's included health challenges where I should have died several times. And so I trusted and surrendered. If I die, I die. If I don't, I'm not meant to. Next. What's next? And along with that, having all the things that I thought I could hold on to for security disappear. So at one point I was actually living in my car for 2 years because I was wiped out financially on health here in America, health costs. And let me tell you, if you're 65 living in a car for 2 years, that takes some moxie to not give up. And I treated it as my choice, my adventure, my learning experience, and it was. and it passed. I mastered it and then moved on. So it can get tough for some people sometimes. And the question is, what is your attitude to what's happening? What belief are you choosing to have about what's happening? And for me, I just think we're on this adventurous spiritual journey. And I got to tell you, it was quite an adventure living in the car. And I learned so much it was ridiculous and had an amazing time. And every now and then it felt scary. Yeah. Or I doubted myself or whatever. That's all part of it.
Wow. Wow, thanks for sharing that. Can I ask you, so your health challenges had huge ramifications. How did the healing eventually happen for you?
How did the healing happen?
Yes, yeah.
Well,
how did you return to health?
The first thing was I literally had my heart broken. I lost a soulmate. About 17 years ago. And 2 years later, I had a heart attack. And that result, actually, I had a whole bunch of heart attacks. My first heart attack, by the way, was in the Louvre Museum in Paris. I mean, how simple is that? If you're going to have a heart attack, at least turn it into a good story. And I had a series of heart attacks, went back to Australia, ended up having triple bypass surgery, none of which, of course, cost me anything. It's one of those evil socialist countries. And the first thing was that I decided that I wasn't finished. I had more to do. That was the choice, that I'm going to live. And from that place, I did whatever I could, which was years of just struggling to climb stairs and struggling for breath, struggling, doctors, the whole catastrophe. And I did lots of healing visualization, which I teach people, which is very powerful. I got my diet handled. I went deeply into my emotional responses to it all. And the bottom line was I chose to take heart again. I chose to finish processing the pain of that relationship loss. Did a lot of crying, and decided that I was going to stay open-hearted in my life and to other relationships. And then 7 years ago, I was rushed to ICU here in San Diego with my heart had basically collapsed or stopped working. It was functioning at 20%. And I was admitted to ICU. 3 days later, got pneumonia, went into a coma for 5 days. I flatlined twice. And when I came out of it, the doctors told me that they just assumed I was going to die and they were going through the motions. I was discharged 3 weeks later. I had an echocardiogram 6 months ago, and my heart is now back into the normal range. Wow. So I've literally rebuilt my heart, both emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, psychically, you name it. I've worked on all those levels. And along the way, developed COPD. So I'm now in the process of healing my lungs.
Well, right. Well, gosh, if you did that with your heart, you can certainly do it with your lungs.
Oh yeah. But look, I mean, behind that is that I've also got 35 years of running alternate healing seminars around the world. My work in London was endorsed by a member of the Royal College of Surgeons. As you mentioned, I was a consultant faculty member at UCLA teaching alternate healing. I've facilitated the healing of supposedly, horrendous diseases like cancers and I've had about 50 women disappear breast cancer. It's actually fairly easy for most. All sorts of cancers and diabetes and epilepsy and all sorts of things. Because disease is dis-ease. If we can figure out what is not at ease, then we can bring it back into ease. And the dis-ease disappears.
Well, thank you for sharing that. What a journey you have been on personally. And what a miracle. What a miracle you are. You're here.
Thank you.
You're still here. You've overcome immense odds.
I also teach people how to create miracles of magic.
Well,
which is my email address.
Well, let's give people a way to contact you, because you do a lot of things. You do a lot of consulting. You offer astrological consultations as well. So the best website for people to learn more about what my guest Gregory Charles does is AussieRelationshipGuru.com, right?
Yes.
That's the one
and
you
the
prefer?
best email at the moment is miraclesmagic@yahoo.com.
Okay, and I'll put that here in our notes too. Miracles Magic? Miracle?
Yeah, Miracles Magic.
miraclesmagic@yahoo.com, and Facebook is Aussie Relationship Guru. And Aussie, by the way, is AUSSIE for Aussie.
Yes.
Everyone in Australia knows Aussie. Aussie Relationship Guru. We just have about a minute left. Gregory, is there anything you want to say that you feel is important that we haven't touched on in the minute that's left in our conversation today?
The thing that jumps into mind is also for people to be aware that what the media basically presents one sliver of reality, and that all around the world people are waking up and becoming much more aware, spiritually, emotionally, whatever, and there's an awakening happening. So my message is, you're not alone. Find like-minded people. Find people, whether it's groups or community groups or friends, whatever, who are aligned with your dreams, your optimism, and hang out with them. We don't need the negativity.
Yeah, so true. It's you are who you are by the friends you hang out with. So be inspired and uplifted, right? So thank you so much, Gregory. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, some insights into the year ahead, for your personal journey. That's just been so special to have you with us today. And
thank you.
Yes, you're so welcome. So everyone, my guest is Gregory Charles. His website, again, is AussieRelationshipsGuru.com, miraclesmagic@yahoo.com if you want to contact him directly. And his Facebook is also Aussie Relationship Guru. If you feel you want an astrology reading to give you some insight, guidance, connection to who you are and your purpose, he's the guy to go see. Go see Gregory. He's a fantastic astrologer and counselor on many levels. So check him out, AussieRelationshipGuru.com. And, I just want to say, Gregory, when you're talking about community and staying positive, that's really what this show is about. That's what the Love Code is about. Get it. That's what my other show is about. So that's why I'm so grateful for everyone who's tuning in. And my job is to have these conversations that keep all of us inspired and uplifted and open to the healing. So thank you again for being with us, Gregory. It's been a pleasure to have everyone on my show. And until next time, have a week filled with love, peace, and harmony. Bye for now.
Thank you.